Welcome to You've Only Come to Hear United. I'm Rich Lewis and I'm going to be talking about the Chelsea game, particularly finishing, the performance, player ratings, and we'll have a really quick look ahead to the next couple of games as well. First up, people have been talking a lot about our finishing and where we'd be in the league if we'd been able to put the ball in the back of the net. Maybe it would have kept Erik ten Hag in a job a bit longer. But for me, as much as the finishing's been poor this season, which it has, that it's been undeniably bad, it feels more to me that we don't often particularly get in those good positions by design. I think we often end up there, not by fortune, but by those moments of individual quality, through ball at the right time or the pass at the right time. I think the one thing that does seem pretty, a good avenue for us to create an opportunity is that ball to the back post. There's where we've seen Rashford and Garnacho be on the end of volleys. But again, it doesn't often feel like clear-cut opportunities when we do get those two. It's not as if we're creating cutbacks or there's a particular sort of movement we have and a through ball which puts somebody in on goal. Everything seems to need to be off the cuff. Yeah, you always need that to happen too. You want goals to come from moments of spontaneity or a bit of impromptu thinking, but you still need to have some goals, in my opinion, if you're going to be successful and win titles that come through, a sort of particular movement that you have. And I think the one that I mentioned a couple of weeks ago was the Valencia cutback for Rooney was a good tried and tested sort of pattern. The Harry Kane-Son partnership at Spurs in more recent years was great. We don't see them too much these days, but there's been plenty of strike partnerships in years gone by for various teams. Noel Quinn, Kevin Phillips at Sunderland springs to mind as well, which was always a good avenue for goals for them, and York and Cole for us. Even if it's not necessarily in the tactics, you've put players together who create good combinations between them, and that's a good avenue for goals. And I don't feel like we've built that. And I don't think Ten Hag's system and the way he put the team together, it wasn't really a catalyst for that either. So it's something that I'm really hoping that Ruben Amorim can help with, really. Can find players that within the existing squad that gel together better, create those combinations. And injuries have made that harder for us, but even if it means dipping into the youth team, you want an 11 that is better than the sum of their parts. And I think it might be reasonable to say maybe we are the sum of our parts at the moment, individual parts, and this is what we're getting at the end of it. And we need more than that. The game and the performance, I've heard people say it wasn't too bad, but for me, it really wasn't great. I think Chelsea being so poor themselves made us look a lot better than we really were. I think it's not gonna. This doesn't cut the mustard for me still, and I was really hoping with Rudin for a few games we would have seen something a little bit different. I haven't seen too much myself. I've watched a couple of videos since, which have said there have been a couple of minor tactical tweaks which seem to have helped, but generally in terms of just the entertainment value from our performance was almost non-existent. There were a few moments in there. Don't get me wrong, we should have won that game. The quality of our chances were better than the quality of Chelsea's chances, but this wasn't suddenly a decent performance. It was two teams playing below par. We created the better chances and should have won, but by no means was it a good performance. Which takes me into our ratings for today. I've gone with 6 for Onana. It was steady, not nothing spectacular, nothing bad. I think no complaints there really. Dalot gone for a 5. I don't think he's been in great form recently, and again it was another game where he didn't have a really positive impact on, but there was nothing terrible in there too, but it just didn't feel like there was enough purpose there. De Ligt and Martinez have both got 6s for steady performances. Mazraoui, I've given him a 7. I was tempted to give him an 8. He was, for me, our best performer. Really confident on the ball, very comfortable. I think we've seen that the majority of this season. He's been an absolute bargain of a signing, and we're very lucky to have him, to be fair. And it does feel like an upgrade on Aaron Wan-Bissaka too. And again, very good on the ball. I think what made me decide to not give him a high rating was, I think when you're getting into those 8s and and above, I I think you really need to have done something which had a proper impact on the game going in your direction, or perhaps stopping you not, losing the game. Casemiro, I thought was steady. I'll give him a 6. Not too bad in there. Ugarte a 5. I thought he was a little below par, but I will say this: I think it's really hard in our midfield. And going back to, I haven't really seen this change much under Ruud, and going back to under Erik ten Hag, I think from a game-to-game basis, dependent upon the opposition, it's hard to get above a 6 in that midfield, because I just think you're exposed so much, and it's such a massive task. What I will say, too, is you hope that improves under Ruben Amorim, and Ugarte has played under Amorim before, so there is reason to believe that we'll see better from him. But he does place big demands on his centre midfielders too. They do have to cover a lot of ground from what I've been reading. So that's still, I don't think that's going to change too much. But it'll be interesting to see in practice how that changes. And to be fair, there will be 3 centre backs behind there too. So maybe that will give us some more solidity and give them the centre midfielders a better foundation. Rashford a 5, Garnacho. Yeah, Rashford a 5 again below par. I was going to try and group them together, but I can't group him with the Garnacho. I thought Garnacho was really poor. I will always say of Garnacho, though, it's not for the want of trying. He will keep going. And I've said before on this show, I love that about him. I do. And I think some of the stick has been a little bit over the top, but for him, it was just a poor game. You could come back in the next one and score a couple. So not going to go too hard on him there. But for this particular one, he was probably the worst performer alongside one of the subs, but we'll come to that in a bit, although it's no surprise. Bruno Fernandes, a 7 for me. It was a steady 6. The penalty, though, was a big pressure moment. Fair play to him for putting that one away. We do expect it from Bruno, but you still got to do it, and he found the back of the net with aplomb, and it's a shame it wasn't the winning goal in the end. Højlund, a 6. I think people might have him a bit lower than that generally, in their minds, but he kept trying for me. He held the ball up well. It was a thankless task. Again, he's not really getting any service. He's having to do too much on his own. I really wish we could see Højlund, the majority of the game, just being the one that players are trying to pick out. And yeah, maybe he's got to do a little bit more to get in those positions, but I don't see the team being geared up to support our centre forward. I don't think we're set up in that way. And looking at how Gyökeres has performed at Sporting, I'm hoping that Amorim can do something similar for Højlund. Onto the subs, as I said before, there was a sub I thought was on par with Garnacho for a poor performance. Maybe worse, Joshua Zirkzee. I still think Zirkzee will come good. I know a lot of people really doubting his potential to really have any sort of impact at Manchester United in the future, but I think from looking at the clips before he came to us, and again, it is just clips, and he's come to a different league, so I don't know how much you can sort of ascertain from those clips, but the qualities he does have, I think he can really contribute to us in the future, but we're just not using him in a way which suits his qualities. It just seems silly for me, us placing him as the lone striker in the system we've been using, the way we're playing. Like the centre midfielders, I feel at times that he's set up to fail when he comes into the team. We saw some really good link play from him earlier in the season, and I think his confidence has been knocked, and we've lost a little bit of that too. So he does need to find his confidence and find some form, but you can't write anyone off at this stage of a career. We saw when Evra and Vidic came into us, and the starts they had, they weren't great, and it took a little bit of time for them to sort of get going and become club legends. So I think if Amorim can use Zirkzee right, I still think there's a chance for him here. The rest of the subs, Lindelof a 6. Nothing too good, nothing too bad. Coming in an unfamiliar position too. Ahmad a 6. I thought he was steady. He gave us a bit more control of the ball, as he nearly always does when he comes on into that, and impacts the final third. Would like to have seen a little bit, more threat from him, but still, I thought he brought more to us than the guys who started the game on the flanks. And for the manager, Ruud a 5. I was disappointed that there wasn't enough there to change the game. I think there was an article out from Manchester Evening News, which I haven't read yet, from Samuel Luckhurst, which suggested that Ruud did try to implement some changes that the players didn't carry out. So I'll be looking into that afterwards, but it wasn't apparent to I don't think it was apparent to the naked eye. But again, maybe that was just down to the players not being able to carry out the manager's instructions. But even in the use of the subs, You know, there wasn't anything super inspiring there. We've got youngsters that we're having to use on the bench, which is an argument for the situation we find ourselves in. But then I say to that, use the youngsters then. You know, you're only here for a few more games. Sometimes, you know, use that impetus from them going, it's my debut. Maybe they'll find something extra because they want to make that impact. You never know. Jack Fletcher might put one in the back, you know, the top corner from 25 yards, just based on that adrenaline and that newness, which can really impact a game, which we've seen in, you know, games, you know, years gone by with your Macedas and Januzajs. Sometimes players do filter away, but I think in a situation like this, you know, use that sort of, you know, enthusiasm for, you know, of youth to try and give something more to the fans from an entertainment perspective, something to hang on to. I thought the game was drab, and I think it needed something for us to get, you know, really get behind. Now for the next two games, I think we just need the points. I'm not expecting to see anything different. I think Rude's shown us so far he's not going to deviate too much from what we did before. And to be fair to him, he's not had a lot of time to really try and stamp his own authority onto things. But I think he could have been a bit braver with team selections, decisions within games so far. Didn't have to worry too much about the Leicester game, obviously. I say within games, he had 2 games. But I still felt against Leicester, as I said in the last one, a lot of it was luck, you know. We play that game under Ten Hag and we don't necessarily get the rub of the green. It wasn't a... We were definitely dominant enough to have scored 5 goals, but the goals we did score, that we had some fortune along the way with those goals. I don't think we suddenly turned into a goal machine. And as I said, I don't think Bruce Shoney's going to shake things up. So yeah, the next 2 games, we just got to get those points on the board and hope we get the job done ultimately. I think, yeah, Europe, you know, we really do need the win after 3 consecutive draws. But again, the defeat isn't the end of the world. You know, the way that the group's set up, the league set up in Europe this season, I think even a defeat wouldn't be the end of the world. It just seems crazy to say that we should be beating PAOK. And then the game against Leicester, even though they'll have a much changed team and they'll be a much bigger threat than they were in the League Cup, we should still have enough about us to win that game. And yeah, you know, if we create the same sort of opportunities we did against Chelsea and against West Ham, we should get over the line, but I'm not going to hold my breath at the moment. Anywho, that's all from me today. I will catch you all hopefully after the game on Thursday with a bit of a quick catch-up about that. And there'll be more updates next week following the Leicester game. And obviously it'll be kind of getting very close then to Ruben Amorim's starting date. And I think we need to do a little bit about that, don't we? To add to everybody else who's doing a little bit about that as well. See you all later.